Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Spencer Arms YouTube channel. Now, this is a review of a beer that's come in the Thornbridge Beer Club. I'm really excited about it because it's exclusive to the Thornbridge. Oh my God, my mouth has not been working tonight. The Thornbridge Beer Club members. And it's this bad boy. Oh my God, am I excited about this. This is the Union, brewed on the famous Burton Union brewing system. It says a pure Union brew. To the fact, the point that they've even added gypsum to the brew to basically harden the water a little bit, because their water over at Thornbridge is thankfully very soft. I think that's possibly why a load of their beers are so amazing, because of the mouthfeel and whatever. So this is a really, 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 really special brew. Now, I've got this, it's fairly cold. It's coming in at 7%. Now, there's a reason behind that, and I will explain that in a moment. And I don't mean I'll explain it because I know. I will explain it because I have read about it. So I've got this beautiful Thornbridge glass. I hope it's clean. I've just come back off holiday. Now, this is a bottle conditioned beer, so I have poured it probably a little bit too hard start. I wanted to pour it a little bit soft, just to sort of like see how it's going to look in the glass as a hopefully fairly crisp and clean beer. Now, this Thornbridge glass, I've just noticed here, has got a nucleation point at the bottom of it. So it's making this beer dance about a little bit. And it needs to dance about because this is a great beer. So I'm going to swirl this round. It might upset the clarity of this beautiful looking golden beer. Look at that. It absolutely looks amazing. And it's in this nucleated Thornbridge glass. So thankfully the nucleation point is at the bottom of the glass. Look at that when it pours in. It's at the bottom of the glass and not all hanging around the glass. One of the reasons why the carbonation is jumping up to the top. So I have actually had this beer at Thornbridge's tap room, and I tell you what, from what I remember, I really loved it. But do you know what? I can't really remember. Very, very disappointed, because I went and had the brewery tour, or the experience, which was fantastic. Well, we got to actually eat some hops, and you get to drink some fabulous beer actually very early on the tour. I got to walk around the Union system, and I was allowed to do that and film it. I spoke to the guy there. It's on this channel if you want to see. Hopefully I'm going to get the rest of this out here, and any sediment that's in there is going to be. Now, I've got a couple of these, and I'm going to be, when it's released on the website for the next beer club, I'm going to be adding these to that, because what I want to do, I want to keep hold of one of these for a fair amount of time to let it condition a little bit more in the bottle. What a fantastic label as well. What a great privilege for these guys as well to have this system. I know there's another brewery over in Scotland, I think, who have got it. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant for them to have this system, keep it alive. It's a historic brewing system, and I just love the fact that they are experimenting with it, trying different brews, and bringing like this lovely beer to the club members first. I'm really pleased with that. So 7% ABV. Why is it 7%? So if you go on the website here, so I've got my other phone here. You can go on the website, and I think you can go on the Explore part, and so it mentions about, as we go up here. So it says, we've now brewed multiple times on our Union set, including several batches of our bespoke British IPA Union, all destined for cask. It's a style of beer I always wanted to brew here at Thornbridge. Surprisingly, given the sheer volume of beer style we brew here, it's a real celebration of all that's best about British brewing. Cheers to that. Using only best British malts and hops, wrapped up in a premium full-bodied ale. I've been particularly happy with how our cask... I'm terrible. How our house cask yeast has performed, emphasizing fruitiness from the malt that balances really well with the hop bitterness. Anyway, you can go over to their website and you can read that yourself. But when it comes here, it says each brew's been slightly different, which is great, really. Said, I decided to brew the bottle version at 7% ABV instead of 6% for a couple of reasons. As we don't have a filter or a pasteurizer, and given the open nature of the union system, which is brilliant, the alcohol will help protect the beer somewhat. Microbiologically speaking, if you can say that word. Now, there's a fly buzzing around here who wants the beer, and he ain't going to have it because it's my beer. Okay. So the slightly higher finishing gravity is essentially balanced nicely with the carbonation from the natural bottle conditioning process we use. Plus, you don't have to walk home from the pub when you finish drinking it. Well, I suppose you do. Anyway, I don't know about that bit, but yeah, anyway, here it is. Cheers. That's just Spano waffle in there. So, oh my God. There is a lovely level of maltiness in there. Now, it says on the bottle here, and head retention staying there lovely. The nucleation points helping that. This is a classic British-style IPA fermented in our union set. We have used Maris Otter, a touch of crystal malt for colour, and lashings of the special Brewer's Invert number 2 to add notes of caramel. Oh, the hops are British-grown Goldings and North Down, which add gentle berry flavours to balance the maltiness. Here we go. I'm not hanging around. Cheers, everybody. First beer of the day. Cheers. Cheers, Thornbridge. Oh, delicate, lovely, absolutely wonderful. Oh, and you know what as well? A different beer than on cask, because on cask obviously you give it some air, don't you? And it's really nice to experience this way. I can sort of like get that little snatch from this that they're trying to create, because traditionally with the Burton Union system, it brewed pedigree for years and years and years, and the natural water gave it that sort of Burton snatch that not a lot of people like. But when you get that snatch, that sulphur snatch, with all the rest of the ingredients in the beer, and I remember years and years ago, because pedigree's not brewed on the system anymore for obvious reasons, because it's no longer there, but it hasn't been brewed for a while on that, and you can tell the difference. And I remember years and years ago drinking pedigree. It was a fantastic beer. It really was, and it did have that. Oh, it crept up and got you. The natural carbonation in this is good. Oh, it's there. Anyway. So there is a level of fruitiness in there. And the fruitiness is almost got a silkiness about it. It's the balance with the malts that's giving a beautiful mouthfeel. But there's a silkiness about the taste. And I think like it almost tells you here that it's coming from the hops. Now, you can get like a resinous taste and a resinous from the hops. That sap coming out the tree. That if you imagine that like sticky resinous sort of mouthfeel. But I think all that is coming from the malts, but I've just got a little bit of the water there, the little bit of the added gypsum in the water, giving it that sort of like, oh, that little crash that I always remember years ago from having pedigree. And pedigree, when you used to open it, and I didn't really smell this when I opened it straight away, you know, you do get that sulphur type of, like you've struck a match and you get the smoke and that. There is a sulphurness about it. Now, they've added gypsum to this to try and emulate that sort of like Burton snatch, but I don't think they've. Oh, it's really lingering now. I can really get it. I can get a bit of. Now, you know, this sounds really ridiculous when I say this, and I don't want to say that this tastes anything like what I'm about to say. But I've also, I've got to be careful when I say this because I don't want to put. There's a big thing about Nelson Sauvin that people used to say that people don't like the winey taste of Nelson Sauvin, right? So people feel like, oh, it's very winey, and it's very, and it puts people off, right? But what you got to remember is until you drink that beer and you experience it for yourself and experience them flavors and experience what we're trying to say about that, it's really there. I can't get it. Is that you've got to understand the reason why you need this in a beer like this. So I'm just going to go in again and I'm going to tell you what I'm trying to say. And Thornbridge, like, I hope I'm getting this right because I don't want to say things wrong, but this is brilliant and I love this. I love it. So what you get, swilling the beer around the mouth, you get a natural carbonation. You know that the way the Burton Union system works, it sort of, I think it forces the yeast, quote me if I'm wrong, but the yeast basically gets forced up to the top just by the process. So instead of extracting the yeast out of it, it gets forced up into the top of the tank, I believe. It all bubbles and gurgles and things. I'm no expert. Tell me if I'm wrong. Put in the comments. Tell me. I don't know. I'm just sort of saying it ends up going up and it all collects in the top. And also, you get the carbonation comes from the brewing process with the yeast. So you get the natural carbonation. Now, I've got it again. It's there again. This, when you get the hip, let me tell you, right? Yes, you do get that almost red berry. Yeah, really red. I can just imagine like a really red berry, almost cherry, not cherry like, but yeah, pushing towards like a cherry, very subtle, a red berry cherry type of taste. That then you get like the malts come through. You do get that caramel underneath there, but then when you let it sit and you don't and you wait and it lingers, you get that gypsum, almost dryness at the back of your throat where you hit the bitterness on your tongue, like if you got the grapefruit bitterness on the back of your tongue, you're getting that slight bitterness from it, but then right at the back of the palate I can taste the gypsum. And the reason I say that, it's like a plasterboard. Yeah. If you've worked with plasterboard, which I have, and you've cut plasterboard with a saw, and you've actually got the dust in your mouth, you get, which is gypsum, it'll give you that sort of dryness, and it almost, you'll get that dry. I mean, these days, we need to be wearing masks. I'm old school builder. We never used to wear masks years ago. Me bad. But you'd be cutting plasterboard. You'd be putting the plasterboard up, be a little bit tight. You'd run a saw through it. The dust would fall down. You get that taste in your mouth. It's not horrible, but you get that taste in your mouth, and you want to quench it with a drink. So what this is giving that good old Burton Union, Burton water snatch, that gypsum sort of like back edition dryness from the gypsum, just really drying your palate really nicely, making you want to have another swig of this bad boy. Holding it in the mouth and breathing through your nose. The fruitiness is really coming through now. Now I'm settling on this beer. The fruitiness is literally coming through. You've got to swill it around your mouth and breathe at the same time. 80% of your actual taste comes from your smell. Oh, the flavours that keep coming through this. This is the sort of beer at 7%. You feel like, I can't have too many of these. But you know what? I think this is the sort of beer whereas when you've finished this one, when you've got to the end of it, you think to yourself like, oh God, I need another one to really get into them flavours. There's a lot going on in this beer. The mouthfeel is absolutely fabulous. Looks like there is a little bit of sediment in there. Yes, there is a little bit of sediment in there. I don't think it says it on here, but a lot of beers in bottle, or it does say may contain sediment, which I believe it would say, but a lot of them say pour carefully to avoid the sediment going in. But I think these days, and especially with great breweries like Thornbridge and all the other breweries that leave sediment in and things like that, or do bottle conditioned beers, they want you to get that sediment in there. So it may say along here, pour carefully to leave sediment in the glass, but I'm not being funny. Like, I don't think it does, because we want to get that sediment. I had a beer the other day that literally had that much yeast in it in the bottom. It was unbelievable. A lot of people, you can have little tiny glasses for the swirl round yeast to put in to taste it as a separate part of the beer. Now, I think that like a lot of people, including myself, only think that you get flavours from yeast when you drink things like a Belgian beer. Like, you get all them yeasty esters in a Belgian beer. It's like if you crack open a Belgian beer, you can tell it's a Belgian beer straight away, because it's all a lot of yeast flavours in there. A lot of German beers are lightly hopped. Sorry, a bloody runny nose. A lot of the German beers are a lot of the Helles beers and that are very lightly hopped, and you can get sort of like, the slight flavours from the yeast, but I think the Belgian beers are really yeasty forward. But what you have to remember is, in every single beer brewed, whether you like it or not, there is flavours in that beer coming from the yeast. And the reason, sort of like, I know that is, there was on the Ellen Audio podcast, they were talking to a brewery where they literally only changed the yeast each time and brewed a lot of different beers, just changing the yeast, and it altered the flavours all the time. That's number one reason why I know. And number two is because it is a fact. Every single beer will have flavours from the yeast, and this is why Thornbridge's house yeast that they use will give their unique spin on their beers. It's probably very subtle, and you really have to look for it. And every brewery's yeast will have that spin-off. But this is got, I'm sure there is some yeasty flavours in there. I would say that the gypsum added to that is settling around in them yeast flavours. I think they've done a fantastic job of this. I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job of this. Think about this. Think about getting a system like the Burton Union system that has been sat there for years and years and years. They've had years and years and years of experience brewing on this old school historic system. You get Thornbridge, take it on. They're on a learning curve. They're fantastic brewers. They know what they're doing. But with the Union system, they're on a learning curve. And they ain't scared to play. And they have brewed like a beer. And they've called it the Union. And it was the only name to call the beer, weren't it? I mean, I know they did the Thornbridge Jaipur. I don't know why I said Thornbridge, but they did the Jaipur on it, to see how that came out. And but this is the first real official released sort of beer, I believe, to be done, and they've called it the Union, and what a beer it is. I hope they continue to make this. It's absolutely fantastic. It comes in at 7%, and you really do feel it. I can feel it. That it's not I can't feel it alcohol wise, as in like any warmth or anything like that. It's like quite a nice sessionable beer. But I know by the way it's affecting me that it is a 7% beer. It's absolutely lovely. It's got a really nice fruitiness about it. Very nice, like exactly that berry, but yeah, it is like a sort of a red berry, almost like plum flavours as well. Like, I mean, I know the plum isn't a berry. It's a stone fruit anyway, but like, slight, so plum has a different flavour depending on the ripeness of it, but you've got like a sort of a nice sort of like underripe plum flavour there, with a little bit, for me, a little bit of cherry flavour in there. Yeah, breathing it in while it's in your mouth, it's really fruity. It's really fruity. But it's like a little mashup of fruits in there. I can't remember what hops are used, but yeah, it's really fruity. Even almost like blackcurranty as well. And then you've got the balance of the malts that comes through with that really nice sort of like very subtle caramel. But then you've got that excellent gypsum finish that is dusty on the top of your mouth, that needs quenching with a beer that's given you that dust. It is, oh, it's phenomenal. Without that gypsum hit in this beer, you couldn't call it the Union. You just couldn't call it the Union. You know, in order to brew a traditional historic beer in modern times on this historic brewing system, calling it the Union, bottle conditioning it, you've got to have that gypsum hit. You've got to have that Burton water snatch. You've got to have what it's meant to do. It's meant to gear that. Oh, it is. I can feel it on the top of my palate. It's a lovely experience, and it's really, and a beer should be an experience. Oh, I've got no beer left to swill. Oh, and it affects you up here. It's brilliant. The alcohol's got to be great. That's lovely. That is brilliant. I really love that. That's a hashtag Spenno Waffle 10 out of 10. Easy peasy. I know I haven't gone wow with it, but it has wowed me, because the reason it's wowed me is because they've not gone crazy to just brew a complete new beer on there, which I know they will do. They will do. What they've done is they've said, you know, we're thankful of having this Union system here. Let's brew a proper Union beer and let's call it the Union. And they've done it, and they've done a blimmin' good job of it. So cheers, Thornbridge. Always sharing the love with you guys. We love you, and yeah, and live, laugh, love, everybody, and stay safe. And if you know, you know, the next few videos that are coming up, I've got a little hidden number in them, okay? And in order to find out why, you need to follow the Spencer Arms on the Instagram, and that's all I'm saying. But anyway, you'll watch the next videos and think, I wonder what's he going on about, just shouting out this random number. Follow us on the Spencer Arms Instagram page, and you will find out. Excuse me. Cheers. A bit belchy, probably because I've had nothing to eat as well. I've been Spenno. This has been a long waffle. Cheers, everybody. Take care, and just make sure you stay safe and enjoy the sunshine here in the UK still. After coming back from a nice hot country, I'm very thankful of today. It's been lovely weather. Right, anyway, ta-da. Bye-bye.